Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and we are back to another live stream slash recording of Hearthstone. Today is April 26th, and we are very far ahead compared to the way we usually go. I almost wonder if maybe if I don't rush through this, I might just have to play an arena. Or play people that are online. If anybody comes online that wants to play me, so comment if you want to play me, and send me those friend requests early. Like, as far as daily quests, I need to play one more Divine Shield minion and 10 combo cards, and that's it. So, on that thing, let's choose our combo 3 attack spell deck. So, combo cards, things with 3 attack or less, and spells. And let's just kind of rush through the news here. Tencent has grabbed a minority stake in Season Games CSUN Games, I think is it, SEASUN Games, for $42.6 million. This is a 9.9% share in a Chinese MMO maker. Tencent, being a Chinese company, is not super surprising. There is a slight fear that Tencent is going to become the new Monopoly, the new EA. Ironically, I think Monopoly is sold in a digital form by EA. But that is a problem, it being a Chinese company, without getting incredibly jingoistic or anti-China, as I have in the past. Is a slight problem too, since every company in China is run pretty consistently by the Chinese government, or at least heavily regulated to the point where they control. But not a big concern really, is one Chinese company buying 9% share of the next thing of another company. What will become a concern is when that 9.9% share grows to 50%, 51%. Then we'll see, maybe in 6 months to 4 years, that Tencent is doing a hostile takeover of that company. Although I'm not sure how hostile it would even be. NVIDIA and Oculus are offering free games if you buy certain things to get VR working, but the deal is the worst deal I've seen in a long time. You have to buy at participating retailers, albeit too, so remember that. You have to buy an Oculus Rift, an Oculus Touch, which is the handheld interface, and a qualifying NVIDIA GTX graphics card, which is the 1060, the 1070, the 1080. Is there a 1070? The 1080, I think Ti counts, but none of the Pascal range of cards seem to count. So no Titan, Titan Ti, no Titan X, and I don't think no Titan XP, which is, I think, the newest one that they were gonna do. This.
You're not that sharp.
Oops, I didn't do that right at all. Wish I could undo that.
Prepare to face the mighty Millhouse Storm.
So, what you're talking about as far as this Oculus deal is no less than $600 or $700, probably closer to $1,000 or $1,200 worth of hardware that you need to purchase to get these free games. And the free games you get are a VR game called Unspoken, which I've never heard of, Super Hot VR, which I have heard of, and alright, maybe that's moderately good for a couple of hours of entertainment, and Wilson's Heart, which is this horror game that I saw MXR, who's a YouTuber that covers Skyrim mods, and I find them slightly interesting to watch the CL Skyrim mods. He does kind of heavily focus on Skyrim mods that put girls in skimpy clothing, but I'm not sure if that's not the vast majority of Skyrim mods anyways. So he may just be going where the content is being created. So MXR got, I think he was given a free Oculus straight up because of for doing the sponsored content, and then he walked around doing a escape the room challenge, which is a lot of money obviously getting put behind pushing Wilson's heart, and probably Unspoken and Super Hot too, to promote it. In that, it might be an interesting horror game, but from my perspective, what the problem with all these VR games is that they're going to fail, in my opinion. I think VR is just going to fail, and maybe 5-10 years down the road, we will be back at that well, trying again.
This guy's toast.
And
justice is mine.
And then in the meantime, all these VR games need to get remodeled and put back into just regular games. And if any of them are good, they will. But the vast majority of VR games are super short and not that good. This week on the Giant Bombcast, Jeff Grossman went on quite the rant, just talking about how he's totally done with VR. So if the people in California who have been at the center of being hyped up about VR because they've actually seen it and they've actually tried it, so if the video game reviewers are losing their hype for VR, that's a lot. And so I think that says a lot. The one horror game that has kind of succeeded and was available for VR was Resident Evil 7, and the free DLC Not a Hero that was going to have Chris Redfield in it, which I think was a step back, really, to bring back any of the characters from previous games. I think RE7 might have been a perfect point to just always go forward and say all the old characters, they're still in the universe and we may see them in a cutscene or two, but we're not going to play as them or focus on them anymore. I feel like that would have been a better move.
I don't have enough mana.
So yeah, that DLC has been delayed, and the reason it's been delayed, which is this is kind of jaw-shocking, but maybe it was some lower employee in Capcom that said that. They said it wasn't good enough to meet high demands. And for Capcom, the people who have been known to just use all of their licenses to try to make as much money as possible, and they just didn't care. I mean, very, very recently we had the Resident Evil Corporation, or the Umbrella Corps game, which was this awful, like, multiplayer first-person shooter game. It was bad, it ran bad. All the PC ports, the PC port for me has run awful on Resident Evil 6 and Resident Evil 4. In fact, I just released a video that I recorded a long time ago where I ran the Resident Evil 6 benchmark utility, and it's telling me that my PC should run the game perfectly fine, and then when I was playing it, it was running like garbage. I don't know why some games on my PC just run like garbage, but I think it's pretty common for bad PC ports. I think there probably is some good. There's like only 1 or 2 configurations in which it runs, if no configurations in which it runs well, and then most of the other ones it just doesn't work. And that's certainly irritating. Here we go. This.
Justice is mine.
If I had done one more damage to him, I would have won there. So I would like to see that this is Capcom turning over a new leaf. And now that they're going to say the Resident Evil series and our other series have to be good. We have to really keep our audience happy. We're not going to put out bad games anymore. No, I don't think for a second that actually is the case, but like I would like to hope that that is the case. Let's see, did I play all 10 combo cards already? Yes, I did. So one game, that's exactly how the decks are supposed to work, is they're supposed to be designed that when we get a quest like that, you do it in one game or maybe 2 or 3. Yeah, I already mentioned I'm pretty bored and uninterested in playing in BioShock Infinite, but I'm going to struggle through it, and then I think I'll gain some steam playing the Burial Sea DLC. I think that'll change things a little bit, although I'm still probably going to go into it more negative than I probably should. But I've been so bored with it, I've been working on my server, and finally I seem to have gotten almost everything that I want set up. There's a couple more things I want to do, just as I want to set up an email server where people could actually send email to me, which I don't know if that's possible or easy to do. Not random people, but like people could send encrypted emails through PGP directly to me, and not through a middle server that unencrypts it. Right now, there's a major problem using Gmail, that it's intentionally unencrypted for Google. They can see all of it and send you ads based on that. And also, if you're leaving it on your Google server, then the law is federally, from what I hear, says after 6 months they consider that email abandoned because you left it on the server, and therefore they don't need a warrant to look at them. So, like, the NSA, the government in the United States, seems like they can just go to Google and say, give us all the emails from somebody who that is 6 months or older without a warrant at all, and that's pretty spooky. And there's other issues, certainly. Like, ideally, you need to become incredibly inconvenienced in modern times by having an email client that downloads and deletes everything off the server, and that way if people can get into your account, they could not see it. That being said, if you delete something off somebody else's server, who do you even know if that has been really, how do you even know that if that's really been deleted or not? It probably hasn't. So unerasing things is still an issue. And so I'm thinking about doing like a trust no one setup, but it might be easier just to use Signal, which I assume Signal is secure, but then again you're trusting that person. But I guess at the end you're always going to have to trust some programmer, or you're going to have to write your own program, and I certainly don't have time for that. But as far as everything else on my server, I've got it one. Mine OS is incredibly difficult to set up to use Apache. It just doesn't work because the person who makes it isn't actually smart enough to be running the project, in my opinion. That he is. Which, this is like an incredibly cruel thing to say, but I kind of feel like it's the truth. He doesn't realize that people might want to change their server so that you could go to like www.myserver.com/mineOS, and have that run finally, which just as a subfolder, because they might be running something else, say own cloud or Apache. I'll just name everything I'm running for maximum breach of security, like Calibre is a book server I'm running. So each one of those work perfectly fine, so I can go example.com / Calibre, and I get to Calibre. I go to example.com / OwnCloud, I get to OwnCloud. All that works perfectly fine because they didn't hard code the base URL into the web pages. He hard coded the base URL to be the root directory. So you cannot have it work with the other servers. So you have to put it on a different port and then open 2 ports and just get Apache completely out of the way for
Reporting for duty.
of the other characters.
I fight.
Let's see.
To arms, men! To battle! To battle!
So yeah, that's a shame, but everything else I got working. I tried a DNL streamer called Rydo on my server. I don't know why I'm talking about servers. I don't even have time for it. And it didn't work as well as mini DLNA, Ready Media, which is kind of abandoned, but it still seems to work better. I think DLNA in general is kind of abandoned. Moving on though. I have actually more things to talk about than nothing to play, and so we're in a weird position now. I guess we're just going to, unless people want to friend me and send friendly play requests, which nobody's online right now. We've got nothing to do, and I don't feel like doing an arena run yet. We are 1,000, almost above the 5,000 for 50 card packs for the next expansion. So we are making good progress, but I would kind of prefer to open up 100 card packs in the next expansion, although it probably wouldn't help that much. And so, yeah, I don't want to do arenas, so I'm just going to do some legitimate ranked play, which, when I say legitimate ranked play, that means play with the Murloc deck, because that's the one deck that wins. Introversion has announced a new game called Scanner Sombre. Introversion, to me, is always the creators of Uplink and Multiwinia, but most people these days would know them as the creators of Prison Architects, and they called it the palette cleanser to Prison Architects because it's been 6 years that they've been doing different variations and updates to Prison Architects, and frankly that was probably not the best way to spend 6 years. Like, they got a game out there when really I wouldn't have been surprised if Introversion didn't make a game at all, but that still doesn't quite forgive the fact that Prison Architect is a pretty simplistic game.
Job done.
Simplistic arts and stuff. Turns out there is a Indiana Jones game called Indiana Jones and the Emperor's Tomb on Good Old Games. That's a 2D platform actioner game, it seems, and I've never heard of it nor played it, and I wish it was on Steam, but I might break my rule and get it on Good Old Games. The reason why I want to do that is Indiana Jones 5 is scheduled to come out July 19th, 2019. So here we're in 2017. I've got 2 years to think about it, but I have already purchased and planned to play the other Indiana Jones games around the time of that movie. There's really no reason to play them outside of the time of the movie. That being said, I've already covered a decent number of Indiana Jones
Give that minion a turn to get ready.
of Lego Indiana Jones games. There was well, two of them, Lego Indiana Jones 1 and 2. But that was because I was running out of Lego games, and there's still only like 3 Lego games, and I don't have any intention of covering them even if I buy them. In the barely news context, Stardew Valley updated. They added language support, better controller support, and stuff like that. It's barely news because, in my opinion, Stardew Valley is how would you put it? A beta game. It's in beta. It's not ready for full release, even though it may be claimed it's in full release. In similar ways, Conan Exiles got updated to have dancing mechanics. It too is clearly a beta game. They even say it. Dota 2 now is going to try to improve matchmaking by requiring a phone number to play in ranked matches. This is basically to stop players having multiple accounts, I assume, so they don't have feeding accounts where they play as one character to just feed to the other team and let the other team win, and they don't care about the ranking on that account, and then they play their other account and to win. And see, I imagine you could have one team going back and forth doing this, where like one side feeds for one game, one side feeds for the other. They switch accounts, and then they switch which side feeds. Unsurprisingly, again, a Red Dead Redemption map mod for GTA 5 has been cease and desisted. Like, I don't know how many times people are gonna have to see this story. I imagine it's gonna get down to the point where we're constantly, like on a weekly basis, seeing the story of things getting cease and desisted because until people realize that you just shouldn't make mods unless you're making a unique mod, and if you're making a unique mod, you need to make sure it passes all copyright and it's not infringing on anything. And frankly, you just shouldn't make mods at all. You should make your own games. I guess the biggest problem here is that some of the mods don't get cease and desisted, so there's an inconsistency here. So people think they can get away with it, even though they're not getting away with it as much as they think they are. For instance, the Rick and Morty mod for GTA 5 seems to have gotten away with it right around the time that the Rick and Morty VR game, which I watched PewDiePie and Jacksepticeye play, and I tell you, I do not like Jacksepticeye at all. And I was like, I don't really like PewDiePie either, but I was like, I do not want to listen to his voice. It is really annoying. And so for that effort, I watched the video of the Rick and Morty VR game, which it looks pretty good, but also it's VR only, so, and it has some major constraints in VR only. I would prefer to actually play a Rick and Morty regular game, something that's longer, something closer to maybe the South Park Stick of Truth style of game, although it doesn't have to be an RPG game and it doesn't have to be incredibly long, which that South Park Stick of Truth sequel game has been delayed and delayed, but I think that's kind of the way they did it because the first game was delayed. There's this game coming out in July for PlayStation 4 called DJ Max Respect, which looks insane. I assume it's part of a series called DJ Max, but it looks really, really fast-paced, where you have to press buttons and light up, kind of like Dance Dance Revolution. But I assume because it's called DJ Max, you normally are playing it on some kind of custom DJ connection things. This story next is not really news, but Terry Crews, the guy from the Old Spice commercials, has been really obsessed about PC making, and I hope it's legitimate. I hope we didn't just all get suckered into a really long Old Spice commercial that went for months and months. But he got this new PC, custom PC, which I think he picked the parts, but somebody else put together for him. And it has like an Old Spice deodorant thing inside the console. He's also on Brooklyn Nine-Nine, which is pretty funny there, but he goes by the name Terry in that too, and I don't know if that's just because he can't respond to anything besides Terry and he's not that good of an actor, or if it's just funny to have such a large, imposing person play a character named Terry. And then here's the question. Let's see. I've got like 6 things to talk about, and do I want to take the easy out since nobody's on live right now again, which sucks. It sucks to have 2 live streams like this, and I'm starting to wonder, like, 2 points makes a line. Is this the point where YouTube says they've given me a chance with the live streams and people don't watch it enough, so they're not going to promote it anymore? Or have I just had a bad run? Like, that's the question I guess I have to ask myself.
Reporting for duty.
If we go, so I don't know if I want to go another 30 minutes. I guess I kind of have to. There's enough here to talk about for another recording, but after this game, that'll be the end of this recording. If nobody gets on and nothing happens in the next 30-minute recording, it'll just be a even hour and 30 minutes spent on Hearthstone, which is not a problem for me because that just gives me more time to try and force myself to play Bioshock Infinite, which has become this real pressure. Like, that is the #1 problem I'm having as a video game critic. It's not really affording the video games. It's not it's not getting them to run. It's not really affording the equipment. It's managing my own time and motivating myself. But I imagine that would be somewhat of an issue for any job. Although it's kind of easy, depending on what your job is, if your job is more of an office job, the basics of your job is just to stay in your office for 8 hours and answer emails and do whatever projects are given to you, if any projects are given to you. If you're working more of a factory line style job, your job is to stay where you're supposed to be for 8 hours and do whatever factory line task they have for you. So, I don't know, assemble a circuit board or pack a box for shipping or whatever that you are. Or maybe just watch a machine do all the real work. But for me, since I'm my own boss, and thus when you're your own boss, you have an idiot for a boss and an employee, I think is the joke. I can at any time just say, you know what, I'll take an hour break. I'll take another 2-hour break. I'll take a 3-hour break. I'll lie down and take a nap. Now, some of this also is happening because I've been having increasing back problems, and the chair, even though I have a new chair, is not really helping too much. So sitting for long periods of time is a pain in the keister, quite literally. So I'm running away from pain half the time when I'm not recording, but also a lot of times I'm just not motivated in playing a game because I'm playing so many games. And what's airing right now is I keep running into these waves of playing pretty bad games, which is weird, but probably should be expected to. This, this, and this. Attack. Attack. And attack. And I imagine I'll win in this next turn. So yeah, I kind of wish I had a secretary. If I had somebody, I don't really need a secretary as much as I need a boss or a partner, somebody who has more accountability than the secretary. What is a secretary but as somebody who you don't have to be accountable but you can also blame all your mistakes on, or keep you organized and answer your phone calls, and basic secretarial skills like that as far as keeping me on a schedule and answering phone calls. One of those, I don't get phone calls, and the other, if I don't have to listen to her, then, or him, I don't know why I immediately say her. If I don't have to listen to a secretary, then I probably wouldn't stay on schedule either. That being said, even if I had a real boss that could force me to stay on schedule, I'm not sure he would actually succeed. Like, just now we're streaming at 7:48 in the evening because I stayed up like until 7 in the morning working on my server instead of playing BioShock Infinite. Although I did play BioShock Infinite for a few hours, and I intended to get back to it and never got back to it. Well, we got a win streak, and so we're doing the absolute worst thing to do when you have a win streak, which is to break the streak for a break. Stay tuned if you're watching live. Otherwise, as always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on basically any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.